My roommate is a beautiful but clueless girl. In our previous life, I saw that she couldn't do anything and knew nothing about common sense. I helped her fold the blankets, bring meals, hang clothes, and answer roll calls. When working on a group assignment, she borrowed my computer and accidentally deleted all the documents. When I was on a date with my boyfriend, she called and asked him to help her fix an electronic device. Another roommate made a sarcastic remark, "Jessica, are you Sarah's mother?" But I didn't think much of it, until the day of the online graduate school entrance exam interview. She burst in and asked me to help her open a bottle cap. I was furious. She bit her lip, looking embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I'm just too clumsy." The night I stopped her from going on a date with the older guy, she pushed me off the rooftop. "Did you really think you were my mother?" When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn to the day she started school. Whimpering because she didn't know how to make her bed, but this time, I won't hold back anymore. Making the bed is so hard. It's all my fault for being so clumsy. If only I could be like my sisters. Woo-woo. A familiar voice came through, and I looked at Sarah, who was facing the bed with a troubled expression. Everything around was so familiar. The brand new dorm room, the familiar roommates. I suddenly realized that I had been reborn back to the first day of school, in my previous life. As soon as everyone arrived at the dormitory, we introduced our names and ages to each other. Sarah claimed to be the youngest in the dorm and immediately called everyone sister, until one time, I accidentally saw her dropped ID card. She is clearly the oldest in the entire dormitory. She shamelessly enjoys the benefits of being the youngest, making everyone in the dormitory run around for her. At this moment, she sits in front of her messy bed. Her fair and delicate face filled with a look of dejection. Making the bed is really hard. Woo-woo. Can any of the older sisters help me? Seeing that we were all standing still, my roommate Lena glanced at us sideways before taking the initiative to make Sarah's bed. I thought to myself with amusement, well, the first big sucker has appeared. Vivian, who was in the bunk below me, saw this and also wanted to step forward to help, but I stopped her. Vivian looked at me in confusion, and I shook my head at her, signaling her not to rush. People like Sarah, who are habitual liars, are most adept at disguising themselves as weak to evoke sympathy from others. Sarah looked at Lena with admiration in her eyes. "Sister Lena, you're so kind. I really like you." Her words of praise greatly pleased Lena, who busied herself making Sarah's bed neatly and smoothly, and she sat in a chair the whole time, watching Lena work. After making the bed, Lena said to us with a somewhat sarcastic tone, "It's only the first day of school, and everyone is acting like invisible people, with no sense of mutual help at all. No wonder everyone says the girls' dorm in college is like empresses in the palace." After saying that, she glanced at Sarah, signaling her to take sides. However, as soon as Sarah opened her mouth, she shifted all the blame onto Lena. "I'm sorry. It's all because I'm too stupid. Sister Lena didn't mean to argue with you all. Please don't be upset because of me." Looking at this scene, I couldn't help but think of my past life. I was the first to step up and help Sarah. She bossed me around like a servant, but after making the bed, she laughed and said I was so good at housework that I was born to be a nanny for others. I was a bit angry, but Sarah said, "Sister, all professions are equal. I was just saying you're suited for the job of a nanny, not belittling you. Could it be that you look down on nannies in your heart, and that's why you're angry?" Her words left me speechless, unable to say anything. Thinking back to this, I looked at Sarah and sneered, "If you know you're stupid, then talk less." My intolerance for foolishness is about to flare up. Also, stop calling us sister all the time. If you want to make yourself seem so weak, why not just call us daddy? Sarah's specialty is constantly saying, "I'm just too stupid," whenever she causes trouble, whether it's damaging someone's belongings or ruining someone's career prospects. All can be brushed off with that light remark, squeezing out a few tears, and putting on a face of being bullied. In my past life, I was too much of a do-gooder, which is why I ended up dying a miserable death. My roommate Vivian laughed out loud, looking at me and silently giving a thumbs up. She probably also understood why I had stopped her from helping earlier. Sarah looked at me, biting her lip, tears quickly welling up in her eyes. She put on an extremely aggrieved expression and said, "Sister Jessica, I know you're from the city and look down on a country girl like me, but why do you have to say such harsh words to humiliate me?" She really knows how to confuse the issue and drag it to another level. Which of my words mentioned rural people and city people? Her weak and helpless appearance reignited Lena's fighting spirit to protect her, even though Lena had just been betrayed by her. Not to be rude, "Jessica, are you out of your mind? What has Sarah done to you that you would say such things about her? After confronting me, Lena turned to comfort Sarah. Don't cry, they city folks think they're superior and look down on us, let's just ignore them. Well, in no time, these two have managed to isolate themselves from the entire dorm. I ignored them and walked into the bathroom on my own. Let them cling to each other all they want, only I know that when it's time to shower, Sarah is going to stir up a whole lot of trouble. When that happens, Lena will be the one to suffer. It was very late when Vivian was carrying a water basin into the bathroom, and Sarah suddenly rushed ahead of her, closing the door. Sister Vivian, I must go to bed before midnight, otherwise, my baby face will age, and I don't want to look like a 20-year-old. It's almost time now. Please let me wash first, okay? I watched them through the bed curtain. Vivian paused for a moment and said to Sarah, all right, you go wash up first. A few seconds later, Sarah's high-pitched voice came from the bathroom. Sister Vivian, I'm so clueless. Do you know how to use this water card? Vivian frowned. Just insert the card into the slot on the machine. Sarah then asked, and which side is the hot water on? Vivian was a bit exasperated. How would I know? I haven't used it either. Try turning it to the left first. If no hot water comes out, then turn it to the right. Oh, thank you, Sister Vivian. Sarah finally turned on the hot water and began to shower, but after finishing, she called out loudly for Vivian again. Sister Vivian, could you help me get a towel? I came in too hastily and forgot. Also, do you know how to turn off the hot water? Vivian, having been directed by Sarah several times to hand in the towel, finally couldn't help but ask, I mean, how come you didn't even bring a towel? Also, isn't the tutorial for using the water card posted on the wall? Just look up and you'll know how to use it. As soon as the door opened, Sarah walked out. Her hair was dripping wet, and along with the thick steam from the bathroom, a strange odor wafted out. Sarah bit her lip and smiled innocently. I'm sorry, Sister Vivian. It's all because my family spoiled me and never let me do anything, so, I'm just not quite used to it yet. Vivian rolled her eyes, took the clothes, and walked past Sarah into the bathroom. Not long after, she came running out, pinching her nose. After watching the show for quite a while, I finally asked, what's wrong? Aren't you going to take a shower? Vivian frowned tightly. There's a really strong, strange smell inside. The moment had come. I shouted to Sarah, who was pretending to be dead while doing laundry nearby. Sarah, how can you soak your socks and underwear together when washing them? In my previous life, it was the same scene. Sarah monopolized the entire bathroom, making me wait on her for a long time. The difference was that back then, when others complained and blamed her, my overly compassionate heart took over, and I stood up to explain for Sarah, saying she definitely didn't mean to do it on purpose. Besides, who says socks can't be soaked and washed together with underwear? In the end, I ended up being isolated by the dormitory. I wonder how Sarah will handle it this time without anyone to help her. Vivian looks at Sarah. The look in their eyes is full of disdain, and for a moment, Sarah stands there, feeling extremely awkward. Lena returns from shopping outside. As soon as they saw Sarah standing helplessly by the door alone, they thought we were bullying her. I raised the corner of my lips. Her timing was perfect. I remember that in my past life, only after I died did I learn that Lena had played a part in my death. She pretended to be a good person on the surface, but in reality, she secretly encouraged Sarah to steal my boyfriend, especially after my death. She was the first to jump out and demand that the school guarantee all dormitory members admission to graduate school. I raised an eyebrow, curious to see how she would defend Sarah this time, but she unexpectedly smiled and said, it's such a small matter, we should all be more understanding as roommates. I smiled and retorted, you're quite magnanimous, always the good person. I wonder if you would still be so magnanimous if one day she threatened your interests. Lena looked at me, holding back from losing her temper. In the end, Sarah was the one at fault in this matter. She repeatedly assured everyone that from now on, she would open the window after bathing and never wash her socks and underwear together again. It seemed like the matter was over just like that. It was quiet for only a few days before Sarah started causing trouble again. A month later, when everyone's relationship had eased somewhat, Sarah suddenly suggested cooking hot pot in the dormitory. I reminded everyone, it's better not to cook. The dorm advisor might come to check on us. If we're caught using high-power appliances, we'll be punished. A few people thought I made sense and said to forget it, but Sarah insisted on cooking, saying it was her birthday today and asking everyone to fulfill her wish. She even took out a bag of hot pot ingredients and directly pulled out Vivian's pot from the cabinet. Reluctantly, Vivian agreed to her request, but just as they feared, the moment the hot pot started boiling, their dorm advisor came to check the room. Everyone quickly hid the pot and opened the windows to air out the room. When the dorm advisor entered, everyone appeared calm on the surface. Only Sarah kept glancing nervously under the table, and her unusual behavior caught the dorm advisor's attention. The tablecloth was lifted, and the pot and ingredients under the table were discovered by the counselor. In the end, the entire dormitory had their usual points deducted and received disciplinary action. After the counselor left, the entire dormitory was enveloped in a low-pressure atmosphere. Vivian couldn't help but complain, my aversion to foolishness is acting up, Sarah. Feeling guilty, volunteered to take on the most challenging part of the group assignment, creating the PowerPoint presentation. I looked at Sarah, a slight smile curling at the corner of my lips. She had taken the bait. In my previous life, thinking my roommate's academic performance was mediocre, I specifically requested the teacher to let me complete the group assignment alone. My relationship with Sarah is quite good. She borrowed my computer to work on a group assignment but accidentally deleted the PowerPoint presentation I had spent an entire week creating. I had to stay up all night redoing it, and in the end, I only received a B. Sarah, on the other hand, got an A because the group's overall performance was good. Afterward, my roommate stood up for me, but I defended Sarah, which led to people saying behind my back that I deserved it. In this lifetime, I actively pulled my roommate into the team, taking charge of the PPT creation, while the task of organizing the copy was handed over to Sarah. This part only required gathering some images and writing some copy, which she could easily do on her phone, yet, she insisted on making things difficult for herself by taking on the hardest part. After I saved and forwarded the half-finished content, Sarah, as expected, was left stunned. She doesn't have a computer, so she can't complete these assignments. This time, instead of borrowing my computer, she turned to Lena, with whom she usually has the best relationship. Sister Lena, can I borrow your computer for a bit? I'll return it to you very soon. Lena didn't refuse and lent it to her without hesitation, but everything was far worse than in the previous life. Sarah spilled coffee on the computer keyboard. I watched from the side, understanding in my heart, Sarah wasn't deliberately targeting me. She simply didn't want anyone close to her to have an easy time. Vivian was warm-hearted. Seeing this scene, she immediately stood up. Sarah, whatever you do, don't touch the computer, she said, then went to get the hairdryer. The next second, as if on purpose, Sarah accidentally pressed the power button. The motherboard driver, water had entered the key components of the computer, and after powering on, the water seeped into the energized parts, causing a short circuit. The computer instantly went black and could no longer be turned on. Vivian, returning with the hairdryer, looked utterly speechless. She exchanged a glance with me before turning back to Sarah. I really can't believe it. I told you not to touch it, but you just had to be so careless. We could have just dried it with the hairdryer, but now it's come to this. Even if we take it to a professional computer repair shop, it might not be fixable. I tugged at Vivian, signaling her not to get so worked up. After all, the computer isn't ours. Lena isn't even in a hurry, so why should we be? Vivian let out a long sigh and turned around to put away the hairdryer. I looked at Lena, whose expression seemed a bit off. After all, it was her computer that got damaged, but since she and Sarah were the closest in the dorm, she could only say softly, Sarah, you should take the computer to get it fixed later. Sarah hugged the computer in her arms, stuck out her tongue, trying to act cute. I'm sorry, Sister Lena, I'm so clumsy. I didn't know it would turn out like this. Please forgive me. You know I don't have much money. I can't afford the computer repair costs. As soon as these words were spoken, Lena's face instantly darkened. I held back the urge to laugh and continued to watch the show. Lena has always been fond of defending Sarah, but now that her own interests are at stake, what will she do? Lena's face darkened as she reached for the computer. Forget it, I'll go fix it myself. At that moment, Sarah suddenly lost her grip, and the computer slipped from her arms, crashing to the ground. Instantly, the screen and keyboard were smashed into two halves. Now, there's no need to repair the computer, it has to be bought again. Lena's entire body instantly flushed with anger. Sarah, what are you doing? You broke my computer, you have to pay for it. But the next second, Sarah pointed at me and burst into tears. It's not my fault, it's all Jessica's fault. If she hadn't assigned the hardest group project to me, how would I have thought of borrowing your computer, and how could I have accidentally broken it? It's all her fault, it's all her fault. Hearing Sarah's words, Vivian and I couldn't help but roll our eyes in unison. This has nothing to do with me, so how could it be linked to me? seeing that no one was on her side. Sarah stopped trying to frame me and instead began to play the victim. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. As you all know, I'm from the countryside. It was so hard to get into college, and I have to work hard to save up for my living expenses every month. The computer is so expensive. How am I supposed to pay for it? Woo-woo. Lena showed no mercy and insisted that Sarah pay for the damages. Sarah, no matter how difficult your situation is, if you break someone else's things, you have to pay for them. Don't you usually love live streaming? You can make money from it too, right? Start a live stream right now and pay me back for the computer you broke. Seeing that Lena showed no sign of relenting, Sarah had no choice. Tears streaming down her face in the dorm room, she started the live stream. Because she was crying so pitifully and wouldn't say a word, her live stream unexpectedly gained a small surge in popularity. Many curious netizens, not understanding the situation but wanting to comfort Sarah, sent her gifts as a form of support. They kept asking her what was wrong and why she was crying so intensely. Sarah streamed for an hour and, after the platform's cut, earned around 10,000 yuan. After withdrawing the money from the back end, she reluctantly transferred the computer money to Lena in front of everyone in the dormitory. Looking at Sarah, I couldn't help but think that some people are just naturally suited to playing the victim card. Some people fall for her act in real life, and some fall for it online as well. The matter should have ended there, but as luck would have it, Sarah was live streaming that day and was spotted by a student from the same school. Rumors started spreading at school about a group in the dormitory bullying Sarah, and for some reason, I was inexplicably labeled as one of the main perpetrators. The counselor sent me a message, asking me to come to her office. As soon as I pushed the door open, I saw the counselor with a stern face, while Sarah stood beside her, crying pitifully. After shooting me a glare, the counselor gently said to Sarah, "Stop crying, and tell me exactly how Jessica bullied you. Tell me all your grievances today, and I will stand up for you." I looked at Sarah, and the moment our eyes met, she cried even harder. Woo-woo. I don't know how I offended Jessica. From the very beginning of the semester, she has been leading the other dormitory students to isolate me, in order to fit in with them. I had to take on the hardest part of the group assignments, but I don't have a computer, and I wanted to borrow one from Jessica, but she wouldn't lend it to me. She even scolded me, saying I'm from the countryside and can't even afford a computer, calling me a poor wretch. She really knows how to make things up. Not only that, but she's also good at twisting the truth. I said, "Sarah, do you dare to swear that everything you said is true?" Sarah looked startled by me and moved closer to the counselor. The counselor scolded me loudly, "Jessica, what do you think you're doing? I'm still here, and you're already threatening Sarah." I felt a bit like laughing and said, "All right, Sarah, go on." Sarah wiped away non-existent tears and continued pitifully, "Lena in the dorm couldn't stand it anymore, so she lent me her computer." Jessica was furious, thinking that Lena had helped me. So she picked up the coffee on the table and poured it on Lena's computer. Lena's computer was ruined, but Jessica claimed I was the one who did it. She forced me to compensate Lena for the computer. I had no choice, so I started a live stream, hoping to earn some money through streaming to pay for the damages. Teacher, I know I shouldn't have made such a big deal out of this. I should have quietly endured Jessica's bullying, no matter what, and shouldn't have caused such a big commotion. I've caused trouble for you, teacher. I'm sorry. After hearing Sarah's words, the counselor looked at me with eyes full of anger. Jessica, tell me, why did you do this? My cold gaze swept over Sarah. Teacher, I didn't bully her. She's the one lying. After speaking, I took out my phone from my pocket and opened a video. Everything Sarah caused in the dormitory that day was clearly recorded in the video, including how she spilled coffee on Lena's computer and how she accidentally turned it on, causing it to burn out. After suffering so many losses in my past life, how could I not keep evidence? This video instantly shattered all of Sarah's previous lies. The counselor looked at Sarah with a grim expression. Except for Lena, with the testimony of the other people in the dormitory, I was cleared of the title of bully. The counselor had no choice but to let us go and posted a clarification announcement online. Although the clarification announcement proved my innocence, the people in our dormitory were still heavily criticized online. Where could Vivian and I swallow this anger? If Sarah could use the internet to cyberbully us, we could also use the internet to turn the direction of public opinion around. I created an account with Vivian, where we roleplayed to imitate Sarah's daily life, posting all her past bizarre behaviors online. Instantly, the online sentiment shifted. People left comments one after another. "Oh my god, I never realized this girl was so disgusting. How ridiculous. crying like a pear blossom in the rain online and pretending to be a victim, while the real victim is being scolded to a pulp by us. I was quite harsh with my words earlier. Sorry, I'll bow to you. How can there be such a weird person? If I had to live with her, I'd go crazy in no time. So amazing. I even felt sorry for her and gave her gifts before. Scammer, give me back my money. What kind of person washes socks and underwear together? Aren't you afraid of getting a fungal infection? So disgusting, so disgusting. It has to be said that Sarah has a strong mindset. Despite the unfriendly comments online, she simply turns a deaf ear to the posts and remarks on the internet. She is becoming increasingly enthusiastic about finding older brothers through online live streaming, dancing and revealing outfits for them every day. Thanks to her endearing talent, her live streaming career is thriving. At some point, she started pulling Lena into online live streaming for product sales. Vivian remains warm-hearted, believing that Lena's academic performance in her major is quite good. If she studies hard and prepares for the postgraduate entrance exam, she has a great chance of getting into graduate school in the future. She went to persuade Lena, telling her to focus on her studies, as a stable job in the future would provide more reliable income than live streaming. Lena also went to the library with us a few times, but she found it too boring and exhausting, preferring the fun of selling goods online with Sarah. As a result, she never went to the library with us again. She and Sarah were inseparable, dressing up in flamboyant and glamorous outfits every day, heading out together and only returning just before the dormitory doors closed at night. Meanwhile, I and the other roommates in the dorm started preparing for the postgraduate entrance exams. As for Sarah and Lena, who stayed out overnight, I didn't bother to find out what they were up to, since no one covered for them. They were eventually caught for staying out overnight. Sarah had failed several courses last semester, and now with the university-wide notice for staying out overnight, it could very likely lead to her delayed graduation. Therefore, Sarah was very angry. The next day, when she and Lena returned to the dormitory, I happened to be absent from the library due to menstrual cramps. I was lying on my own bed, with the bed curtain covering me, so they didn't know I was in the dormitory. I heard Sarah loudly complain to Lena, "I clearly said I wanted to come back last night. If it weren't for you insisting on staying out, how could we have been caught, if I get held back?" "It's all your fault." Lena, who had also received a disciplinary record, was in a bad mood and retorted to Sarah, "Fine, blame me, blame everything on me. Okay, you're completely faultless. If you're really that angry, why don't you just call the police?" "Lena," Sarah roared, standing up and suddenly shoving Lena to the ground. However, after a series of collisions, Lena screamed and struggled to get up from the ground. I saw a large gash on the left side of Lena's face, with blood continuously flowing from her cheek. During the earlier shoving, her face had accidentally hit the corner of the table. Lena covered her face and screamed, and the noise attracted the dorm supervisor. Everyone supported Lena and took her to the hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, I took advantage of the situation and, under the pretense of fearing harm from Sarah, moved out of the dormitory with Vivian. Lena was hospitalized, and I heard that her parents went to the school to confront Sarah. However, none of this concerned us. Vivian and I focused on studying diligently in the library, ignoring these matters, but for some reason, Lena's parents actually came to the library, looking to pick a fight with me and Vivian. In the quiet library, the books on the table were suddenly swept to the floor. Looking up, I saw Lena's parents with furious expressions on their faces. They snatched the materials from my hands and swiftly tore them in half. "It was you who harmed my daughter like that. You two murderers." I looked at Lena's parents, and standing behind them was Sarah. With just one glance, I knew these two were brought by Sarah. "Uncle, Aunt, I think you've misunderstood," Vivian tried to explain, but Lena's father raised his hand and slapped Vivian. "Shut up, what is there to explain? My daughter is disfigured now. How is she supposed to live the rest of her life? How is she supposed to get married? You two damn brats. Deliberately hurting others at such a young age. I'm going to kill you today." I quickly steadied Vivian, who had been slapped, and shielded her behind me. I glared at Lena's parents and pointed to the surveillance camera above the library. "Assaulting others without cause is illegal, and the surveillance has recorded everything. Do you want to go to jail?" Hearing this, Lena's parents finally calmed down a bit. Lena's mother said, "We're not trying to cause trouble, but you've ruined our daughter's face, so we need an explanation." I discreetly handed the phone with 911 dialed to Vivian and said, "You're bleeding, go take care of it first." Vivian immediately understood my meaning, covered her nose, and turned to walk toward the restroom. Lena's parents tried to stop Vivian from leaving, but I blocked them and asked, who told you that Lena's face was ruined by us. This is a society governed by the rule of law. Everything must be based on evidence. If you have no evidence, how can you slander others at will? It was her who told us. Lena's mother suddenly pushed Sarah, who was standing behind, forward. At this moment, due to the commotion caused by Lena's parents, the students studying in the library around them all turned their attention in this direction. Sarah didn't dare to look me in the eye, avoiding my gaze and timidly saying, "Jessica, just admit it. It's not the first day you've been bullying Lena. She's a girl who loves beauty. And now you've ruined her face. How is she supposed to live in the future, since it has been 3 years since the online bullying incident? Most of the students at the school have changed." Hearing Sarah say this, the classmates who didn't know the truth all thought I had bullied Lena, and they angrily accused me. "How could you ruin someone's face? Her parents came looking for her, and you still refuse to admit it. You're so shameless. Get out of China with your school bullying. Who is this girl? I want to know all her information on the campus forum within 3 minutes. He's clearly a repeat offender. That girl next to him looks so pitiful. She must have been bullied terribly, too afraid to even make eye contact with the perpetrator. Call a teacher. Does anyone know which department she's from?" People who engage in campus bullying should just drop dead. Listening to the surrounding discussions, I didn't rush to explain. After Vivian returned, I took the phone and opened a video recording. The content of the recording was exactly the argument between Sarah and Lena in the dormitory that day. That day, I sensed something was off and secretly recorded the entire incident with my phone. The video clearly captured Sarah pushing Lena down, causing Lena's face to hit the corner of the table. Before the video finished playing, Lena's father raised his foot and kicked Sarah hard. "You damned scoundrel. So it was you who ruined my daughter's face." Lena's father punched and kicked Sarah, and as they saw Sarah screaming in pain, the classmates watching the commotion nearby were afraid something serious might happen, so they quickly stepped forward and pulled Lena's father away. Lena's father lay on the ground and began to throw a tantrum. "Let me tell you. My daughter's matter won't be settled for less than 10 million. If you can't afford to pay, I'll haunt you for the rest of my life." Sarah covered her swollen face, crying uncontrollably. Fortunately, the police arrived just in time. After taking all of us to the police station, Vivian and I gave a full account of what happened and were allowed to leave. Lena's parents, however, were detained for maliciously assaulting others. After this incident, Lena and Sarah completely fell out. Sarah was severely beaten by Lena's father. She took photos of her injuries, fabricated a story about being beaten by a classmate's rogue father, and posted it online. Incidentally, she also exposed Lena's home address. While Lena was recovering at home, she faced real-life retaliation from netizens. I followed Sarah and Lena's respective social media accounts. Since leaving Sarah, Lena's account has seen low popularity. Many netizens who are unaware of the truth have left comments under Lena's previous works, calling her an ungrateful and shameless person. This has caused significant psychological harm to Lena, who is currently recovering from her injuries. When I went to visit her at her home, she was not very friendly toward me. "Are you satisfied with how I am now? TSK, you become like the people you hang out with." Looking at Lena's face wrapped in gauze, I sighed with some emotion. "From the moment we moved into the dorm, you were the one who took the initiative to stand by Sarah's side and hang out with her. Now that she's hurt you like this, why are you turning around and blaming me instead?" Lena angrily clenched her fist. "Did you come to see me just to mock me and laugh at my misfortune? Of course not." I leaned closer to Lena and said to her, "You've been in the self-media industry for so many years. You know how much business opportunity a single viral moment can bring, right?" Lena looked at me, puzzled. I continued, "Sarah hurt you this badly, you could expose your scars and Sarah's wrongdoing online." Lena frowned. "Just based on the wounds, it's not enough to definitively prove that Sarah hurt me. People will say I'm making up a story." I took out my phone and waved it in front of her. "I have the entire video of her disfiguring you. This video is enough to make netizens believe what you said." Lena's face lit up with joy, but then she quickly regained her composure. "Would you really be so kind as to help me?" I shook my head with a smile. "Of course not. If you want this video, you'll have to pay for it." Lena asked, "How much do you want?" I held up 3 fingers to her. Lena hesitated for a moment but ultimately agreed to buy the video. I happily copied the video for her, then went back, waiting for Lena's next move. Soon, Lena posted a video on her account showing how she was pushed by Sarah, which led to her disfigurement. At the end of the video, she removed the gauze, exposing the wound on her face to the public. The video quickly went viral in a short period of time, and some netizens used it to dig up what happened to Sarah 3 years ago. Soon, Sarah was thrust into the spotlight of controversy. Everyone called her the silly baby roommate because every time she made a mistake, she would regretfully say she was too foolish. Time flew by, and soon it was after the written exam for the postgraduate entrance exam. Vivian and I went out to celebrate, allowing our tense minds to relax a little. By this time, the online feud between Sarah and Lena had come to a temporary halt. The matter ended with Sarah compensating and being suspended from school, while Lena profited immensely from the incident and went abroad to study. Another year passed, and Vivian and I received our preliminary exam results. We both passed the initial screening for our respective schools. We calmly prepared for the online re-examination. I still remember in my previous life, on the day of my re-examination, Sarah used the excuse of asking me to twist open a bottle cap to sabotage my re-examination. I know she won't let this go easily after being treated so harshly this time. I don't know how much money Sarah slipped to the school authorities, but she managed to return to campus. Compared to before, she has become much quieter and more reserved, and we rarely cross paths at school, but every time we do meet, her eyes are clearly filled with intense jealousy and hatred. I am absolutely certain in my heart that she will definitely find a way to sabotage our re-examination. The school places great importance on the success rate of students' postgraduate entrance exams. If the teachers were to find out that Sarah deliberately sabotaged the re-examination, what would be the outcome? On the day of the re-examination, I deliberately leaked the location of the re-examination to my classmates in advance, but in reality, I went to a hotel to take the re-examination in peace. After the interview ended and I came out, I learned that Sarah hadn't targeted me this time, but Vivian instead. She had been waiting in the classroom where Vivian's interview was held and had placed a snake in the room in advance. Vivian was so frightened that she nearly fainted. Not only that, but Sarah also cut off the classroom's internet connection. She wanted to make Vivian miss the interview time. Unfortunately, Vivian's retest was postponed that day. There was a problem with the equipment at the college, so everyone was notified to postpone the retest by 1 day. Afterwards, Vivian reported Sarah. Sarah's malicious act of preventing other students from taking the retest angered the school leaders, and she was directly suspended from school. Before leaving, Sarah actually sent me a message. She asked me to meet her in a secluded place, saying she wanted to apologize to me in person. Vivian also received the same message. In my previous life, Sarah pushed me off the rooftop after I went to meet her. This time, she actually wants to try the same trick again. After informing Vivian of Sarah's possible intentions, Vivian and I prepared ourselves and went to meet Sarah. On the rooftop, Sarah looked at Vivian and me, revealing a faint smile. She beckoned us over, saying that the rooftop offered a unique view of the school's beautiful scenery. We didn't fall for it and only stood at the stairwell entrance, watching her. Seeing that we weren't taking the bait, Sarah walked toward us with reddened eyes. Why can you continue your lives so smoothly, while my life has been ruined by you? Die, both of you, die. With that, she raised her hand, intending to push me and Vivian down the stairs. However, due to her years of dieting, solely to fit the aesthetic of being pale, young, and thin, her body was extremely weak. Not only did she fail to push us, but she lost her footing and instantly tumbled down the stairs. She suffered severe injuries, but fortunately, there were surveillance cameras on the rooftop that clearly recorded everything. As roommates, Vivian and I still went to the hospital to visit Sarah with good intentions. Her hospital bed was lonely, and despite such serious injuries, not a single family member had shown up. After inquiring, we learned that Sarah had been an orphan since childhood, with no parents. Later, she was adopted by foster parents, but unexpectedly, after they had their own biological son, they drove Sarah out of the house. So Sarah has always acted like a foolish baby who needs to be taken care of, all to fill the void in her own heart. Looking at Sarah lying unconscious in the hospital room, I felt a mix of emotions. It can only be said that the pitiable have their own hateful aspects. Later on, Sarah became completely vegetative, lying in the hospital bed, unconscious and unable to move, no longer capable of doing any harm. Perhaps this is her retribution. As for me, I have embarked on a new chapter of my life. Together with Vivian, we are heading to a new campus. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My roommate is obsessed with beauty posts about golden apple snails. Not only does she eat the snail meat raw and use snail eggs as a facial mask, but she also plans to use golden apple snails for breast augmentation. I couldn't stand it anymore and earnestly educated her, explaining that golden apple snails are hosts to thousands of parasites, and severe infections can lead to death or permanent disability. She was on the verge of tears and eventually gave up with a heavy heart. As a result, the neighboring school produced a golden apple snail goddess, who was not only fair-skinned and beautiful with a curvaceous figure, but also managed to win over the crown prince of the Beijing circle, marrying into a wealthy family and achieving a leap in social class. My roommate, consumed by jealousy and rage, hacked me into pieces like a jigsaw puzzle, threw me into a meat grinder, and then dumped my remains into the snail pond. I died with deep resentment, vowing never to interfere with others' destinies again. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn. Yeah, do you think this beauty patch is really effective? It has a lot of likes on Little Green Book. My roommate Lee Cindy's voice reached my ears. I belatedly looked around at the familiar surroundings and immediately realized what was happening. I have been reborn, as a seasoned enthusiast of realistic fiction. I quickly grasped the current situation. In my previous life, Lee Cindy inexplicably showed me a beauty post from Zia Hongshu, telling me it was a popular beauty method lately and she wanted to try it. I saw the comments section was full of abstract discussions, so I nodded and agreed. Who knew she started making homemade raw marinated snail meat the very next day and generously shared several jars with us. Because it tasted delicious, I ate it for several days in a row, only to end up in the hospital with diarrhea. The doctor said I had a bacterial infection and asked if I had eaten something unclean. I immediately thought of that jar of snail meat, combined with the pink round egg mask that Lee Cindy applied every night. I suspected it was the golden apple snail, thinking my roommate had confused field snails with golden apple snails. I hurried back to the dormitory to throw away the snail meat and patiently explained. Lee Cindy bit her lip without saying a word, just silently cooperating with me to discard all the golden apple snail meat and eggs. To spare her feelings, I kept this matter a secret and secretly added medication to the other roommates' water cups, mixing deworming medicine in to help them regain their health. Just when I thought everything was going perfectly, a goddess-like figure from the neighboring vocational school transferred in, fair-skinned, beautiful, with a curvaceous figure. She caught the eye of a wealthy heir from Beijing who was obsessed with redemption-themed stories, and she eventually married into a wealthy family. Upon learning this, Lee Cindy's eyes turned red with jealousy. During the holiday, she invited me to her home as a guest, only to brandish a butcher's knife and cut me into pieces like a jigsaw puzzle. To erase all traces, she then threw me into a meat grinder, shredding me into pieces, and fed the minced flesh to the apple snails she kept. Hovering in the air, I witnessed it all, chilled to the bone and heartbroken, unable to believe that a madwoman had been lurking by my side all along. At this thought, I wished I could slap myself to death. Despite having read so many cautionary tales, I still failed to let go of the urge to help others and respect their own destinies. As a result, when it was time for reincarnation, my overwhelming resentment kept me from crossing the Naiha Bridge, and I was sent back by the underworld officers. Since heaven has granted me a chance to be reborn, this time, I will never interfere with the karma of others. Seeing that I didn't respond, Lee Cindy pinched me hard, and the pain pulled me back to reality. I snapped back to my senses and slapped her across the face. Lee Cindy covered her face in disbelief, as if she didn't recognize me. "Zhou Yu, why did you hit me?" I retorted. "Then why did you pinch me?" "I pinched you because you were spacing out. Then I hit you to let you know I've snapped out of it." "You..." Lee Cindy was so angry that she immediately turned her face away, pulling the bed curtain tightly shut. Shortly after, a payment QR code was hung at the head of the bed. I knew this was her usual way of making me apologize. In my past life, I was manipulated by her, feeling sorry for her as an orphan who had a tough journey, so I often looked out for her. He transfers money to her at the drop of a hat every day, takes attendance and passes her cheat sheets like a nanny, and insists on handling every little detail himself. I never expected that I would end up raising an ungrateful wolf. The other two roommates remained silent, seemingly lost in their own worlds, but in reality, they hadn't even plugged in their headphones. I couldn't be bothered to care. In my previous life, I had actually already informed them about the deworming medicine I gave them to drink. To protect Lee Cindy's dignity, we all put on a show for her. After I died, the three of them joined forces, forged test reports, claimed that I had poisoned them to make them infertile, and posted a video of me administering the deworming medicine, twisting the truth. They used this to demand millions in compensation from my parents. Being honest and simple-minded, believed it to be true. After being subjected to online harassment, they immediately sold all their properties and land to silence the public outcry. The two of them set out alone on the journey to find me, but after years of wandering and toil, they fell ill and died in the wilderness. Thinking of this, my blood boils, and I can't help but want to rush up and give them a good beating. But 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down. It's not yet time to tear off the mask. After a long while without receiving the transfer, low sobs began to drift from Licini's bed curtain. The sound wasn't loud, but the dormitory atmosphere was already quiet, making the crying seem even more eerie. I paid no attention and simply slammed the door shut as I left, following my memory. I arrived at the lottery shop right across from the school. In my past life, someone here had scratched $1 million prize. The person involved posted on the confession wall, boasting that they had won $1 million with just the cost of 4 cups of lemonade. To show off their wealth, they even posted a video burning the $1 million scratch-off ticket to ashes. It left us all gasping in astonishment. This amount of money isn't huge, but it's enough to cover my future expenses for graduate school and a Ph.D., easing the burden on my family, so, suppressing my inner joy. I rushed into the lottery shop and splurged, buying up all the joyful reunion tickets with a face value of 20. After scratching off 17 tickets in a row, sure enough, one of them hit the $1 million jackpot. The next day, I immediately cashed it in. After deducting some taxes and donating $8,000, my bank account was left with a solid 6-figure balance. I pinched myself hard to make sure I wasn't dreaming, then decided to splurge just this once. I went to the cafeteria and ordered a luxurious version of mouth-watering chicken, the kind with 2 extra drumsticks. As someone from Sichuan, I've always had a special affection for our local cuisine. Excitedly, I rubbed my hands together and picked up a drumstick, but before I could take a bite, I was interrupted by a disgusting voice. "Zhou Yu." Licini slapped me hard on the back with such force that I thought she was Popeye the Sailor. Then she pushed a can of snail meat toward me, offering an apologetic smile. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was my fault yesterday for pinching you so hard. I apologize." The plump and tender snail meat in the glass jar has an enticing color, fully coated with millet peppers and garlic paste, soaking in rice vinegar. As soon as the jar is opened, the air fills with a slightly spicy, fresh, and savory aroma. It invigorates the spirit and stimulates the appetite. In my past life, would have gladly accepted it, eating it while praising it endlessly. But upon learning that this is the meat of the golden apple snail, along with the millions of bacteria and viruses it carries, I can only feel a wave of nausea. I politely declined and pushed the snail meat back. "I accept your apology, but you should take the snail meat back. I'm allergic and can't eat these things." Upon hearing this, Licini frowned so deeply it could have crushed a fly, looking quite displeased. "I spent so much time and effort catching these good snails in the fields. Even skipping class, you won't even try them before refusing. Do you think that's fair to my efforts? Besides, how come I didn't know you were allergic? Or is that just an excuse because you think I didn't cook them well?" I picked up the chicken leg and took a bite, speaking slowly. "Don't get all sentimental here. I never asked you to do anything. Besides, there are plenty of things you don't know. Do I have to spell them out for you one by one? For example, I don't like it when you wear my clothes even though you have body odor, or when you secretly use my skincare products and mix in some cheap lotion, and I especially don't like it when you pick your nose and flick boogers into my water glass on purpose." "Enough," Licini cut me off, her face flushed with embarrassment or anger. "Those who achieve great things don't sweat the small stuff. You're always fixated on these trivial matters. You'll never get anywhere in life, as expected. There's no reasoning with someone like this." I rolled my eyes, turned my head, and focused on eating, no longer paying attention to her every move. If I can't handle it, can't I just avoid it? Just when I thought she would find it boring and back off, she suddenly scooped up a spoonful of snail meat and shoved it right in front of me. Since it was raw marinated, the dark, fishy snail meat wasn't completely dead and was still wriggling. Some stretched out their tentacles toward me, while others were still spitting out pale pink eggs. As she shook the spoon, sticky, cold liquid dripped onto the back of my hand, sending a chill down my spine. I angrily said, "Are you out of your mind?" Licini glanced behind me, her eyes lighting up as she immediately bit her lip and welled up with tears. Yeah, I just wanted to apologize to you. Why are you being so aggressive? Is it because I'm an orphan that I have to be inferior? Do I have to kneel and admit my mistake for you to accept it?" As she spoke, she pretended to kneel but was lifted up by 2 hands. "Cinny, don't bow to the forces of evil. The ones speaking were my other two good roommates, Wang Yaru and Yang Jing. These two started out as edgy girls in their early years, having experienced everything from blonde-haired tragic romances to ghost fire love stories. And what they posted on Little Green Book was also full of youthful angst literature. Back then, the short video platforms were booming, and these two pigs really rode the wind and soared, raking in quite a bit of profit. Later, after the internet cleanup campaign, they were banned from the platform for their vulgar jokes and switched to the borderline content track, often dancing provocatively on campus in revealing outfits, which drew criticism from many classmates. In my previous life, Lee Sinny and I came from ordinary families and were looked down upon by them. With less than 3 interactions throughout the year, later, when Lee Sinny made snail meat herself, I volunteered to try to ease the dormitory tensions and gave them 2 jars as well. Then, after parasites were discovered, I groveled and took all the blame for Lee Sinny, paying out of my own pocket to calm their anger. In the end, they thought I was easy to bully and teamed up to extort money from my parents. At this thought, I couldn't help but clench my fists. Wang Yara noticed my small movement and sneered, "What? Still thinking about hitting someone? Zhou Yu, you seem honest and decent on the surface, but behind the scenes, you're such a shameless person, even bullying your roommate. Do you really think the anti-gang task force is just for show?" Yang Jing chimed in, "Exactly, we won't put up with you. I suggest you apologize to Sinny right now, or else." She waved her phone with ill intent, the threat all too clear. I lowered my head in thought, deciding whether to take a step back to avoid trouble, but in their eyes, it became a gesture of me bowing my head in apology. Wouldn't it have been better to lower your head earlier, pretending to be tough when you're not, acting like a gangster without the skills? Some people just love to put on a show. All about vanity. The veins on my forehead were throbbing, and I had reached my limit. Enough. Holding back for a moment leads to breast hyperplasia, stepping back leads to ovarian cysts. I'm not holding back anymore. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing were chattering non-stop, and in a flash, I scooped up a big chunk of snail meat and stuffed it into their mouths. A toad jumping off a cliff. What kind of Batman are you pretending to be? You see others as black-hearted because your own heart is black. Rather than suffering in silence, it's better to go crazy and take everyone down with me. Realizing this, I became even more unrestrained. Ignoring the disgusting, slimy sensation, I grabbed the squirming, struggling snail meat and stuffed it into their mouths again. A moment later, a sharp, piercing shriek echoed. The 3 of us wrestled together, recalling the tragic fate of my past life. I was filled with overwhelming hatred and unleashed astonishing strength. Holding my own against 2 opponents without faltering, Lee Sinny pretended to mediate, but in reality, she was always taking sides, secretly pinching me. I didn't hold back and secretly slapped her. The fight was intense, and everyone ended up with quite a few bruises. The security guard arrived late and quickly separated us, then escorted us to the counselor's office. Those 3 were in cahoots. As soon as they entered the office, they all started crying pitifully. As if I were some kind of unforgivable villain, Wang Yaru slammed the table so hard it shook the heavens. "Advisor, you have to do something about Zhou Yu." She managed to dodge the crackdown on crime and corruption, not only bullying classmates but also tormenting her roommates. When we tried to intervene out of kindness, she even resorted to physical violence. It's absolutely lawless. Yang Jing ran to the window, putting on a show of wanting to jump but hesitating. "I really can't go on living like this, teacher. If you don't take action, I'll have no choice but to prove my innocence with my death." The advisor rubbed his temples, looking weary. He didn't take Wang Yaru and Yang Jing's words to heart. After all, these 2 borderline troublemakers had a history. Not only did they dance provocatively without underwear at the New Year's party, but they also performed in skimpy bikinis as cheerleaders during the sports meet. The sheer audacity of it was jaw-dropping. He had received countless reports and complaints, yet these 2 troublemakers continued to act as they pleased. Even their parents, seeing an opportunity to make money, did nothing to stop them, frequently causing chaos and disturbances at the school. As a result, the counselor was reprimanded by the leadership and missed out on the Most Beautiful Counselor award. Harboring resentment in his heart for quite some time, he turned his gaze to Lee Sinny. Attempting to seek testimony from the other side, Lee Sinny looked troubled and deeply pained, saying, "I'm sorry, yeah, I can't cover for you just because we're best friends." Her words, though seemingly spoken out of compassion, actually confirmed my guilt and added a layer of credibility under the guise of friendship. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing immediately looked smug, casting disdainful glances at me as if I were about to be expelled from school. I directly removed the pinhole camera from my chest, retrieved the video, and revealed the truth to everyone. Although my actions in the video were violent and extreme, it was clear that they were provoked and threatened by others, so both parties shared responsibility, and Lee Sin-hee was purely well-intentioned in trying to mediate, and was mistakenly injured by us, with relatively little responsibility. In the end, the instructor gave us a warning, had us apologize to each other, and stated that if it happened again, we would face direct disciplinary action. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing were caught off guard by my move of cutting off their support, their eyes filled with undisguised hatred and scheming, but they dared not say anything more under the instructor's authority. After this incident, I was isolated in the dormitory, and the three of them began to stick together. Lee Sin-hee joined their provocative dance group, performing hot dances on campus, and selflessly shared her raw marinated apple snail meat. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing ate with greasy mouths, using toothpicks to skewer 4 or 5 wriggling snail meats in a row, and popped them into their mouths without even glancing at the pink worm egg squirming beneath the snail skin. As they chewed, they showered Lee Sin-hee with praise, raving about the tender and chewy texture of her raw marinated snails, while subtly hinting that I didn't know what was good. Sin-hee, your cooking skills are amazing, these snail meats are plump, tender, and juicy, we're almost addicted to them. Yeah, you've really worked hard, we always finish every bite and never waste anything, unlike some people. Lee Sin-hee was so flattered by their praise that she couldn't stop smiling, and she took the opportunity to take a few jabs at me. Oh, we're all in the same dorm, if I have any beauty secrets, I'll definitely share them with everyone. I'm not the kind of ungrateful person who only thinks about myself. I didn't take these taunts to heart. The roar of the weak is like the howl of a stray dog on the roadside, all bluster, unable to cause me any real harm. I put on my headphones, blocking out external distractions, and immersed myself in another round of problem solving. In my previous life, I prepared for months, investing countless hours and effort, aiming for the top-ranked University of Science and Technology of China in the field of biological sciences, but fate was not on my side, and I ended up being transferred to Peking University by just 1 point. In the midst of my breakdown and despair, Lee Sin-hee comforted me and invited me out during the holiday to clear my mind. That outing became the last one forever. Given a second chance at life, I will rewrite history, leave no regrets, and give my all for my ideals. I spend almost every day immersed in the library, diving into a sea of practice problems and online courses. I return to the dormitory almost at curfew every night, and each time I see them wearing thick pink insect egg masks on their faces. Under the moonlight outside, the embryos inside the eggs can be seen struggling and squirming clearly, with some even showing signs of breaking through the membrane. I have no idea how Lee Sin-hee managed to convince Wang Yaru and Yang Jing, but the three of them seemed to be under some kind of spell, venturing further and further down a path of self-destruction. That day, while I was in the library studying the challenges that needed to be overcome in the precision and safety of gene editing, a sexy-looking beauty suddenly sat down across from me. Looking at the girl with the hot figure and rosy, fair skin in front of me, I felt a strange sense of familiarity. Squinting my eyes and examining her for a long time, I finally recognized her. Lee Sin-hee. Lee Sin-hee curled her lips into a smug smile, her tone dripping with satisfaction. What's wrong, Zhou Yu? Jealous? I'm much prettier than you now. In just half a month, Lee Sin-hee had transformed from a sturdy, broad-shouldered figure into a delicate, graceful beauty, a change so drastic it was astonishing. Usually, when I returned to the dorm at night, they were already asleep with face masks on, and I only caught a few glimpses through the curtain gaps, unaware that their figures beneath the covers had already undergone such a transformation. Lee Sin-hee crossed her arms, inadvertently lifting her own prominent curves, then glanced at the flatness of my chest and curled her lips disdainfully. If you had believed in my beauty patches earlier, you'd be at least a C or D cup by now, instead of flaunting a flat chest here trying to snag a rich guy. But what kind of eligible bachelor would you find in a library? They're all just poor scholars like you, buried in books with narrow horizons. Here, take this, don't say your sister doesn't care about you. She handed over a gilded invitation, explaining that the Slow Hand platform was about to celebrate the birthday of the Beijing socialite prince with a silver-themed party, inviting top influencers to attend. The address was at a villa not far from the city outskirts. Golden Branch and Jade Leaf No, for 19. Seeing the address, I suddenly remembered, isn't this the place that was reported for hosting an orgy in my past life? In my previous life, the so-called Golden Apple Snail Goddess was invited to attend, only to lose her innocence. she cried out for justice online, causing a huge uproar and catching the attention of the Crown Prince of the Beijing Circle, and the Crown Prince, immersed in a savior complex, was instantly captivated by this damaged flower. So with a grand gesture, he suppressed the Kuaishou platform until it went bankrupt. After careful consideration, I prepared to speak up and persuade her, only to see many semicircular bulges on Li Sini's arm wriggling rhythmically, as if the skin were a cover over insect eggs. Then she sneezed, and a thumb-sized pink egg sac was wetly ejected onto the leg of the table. 7 or 8 tiny apple snail hatchlings, each the size of a sesame seed, nearly fell out, scrambling along the flowing mucus. Swimming upstream to crawl back into the nasal cavity, I almost cried out in shock. Quickly covering my mouth, Li Sini acted as if she hadn't noticed, directly using a tissue to blow her nose clean. Seeing my look of surprise, she rolled her eyes, making a fuss. For beauties like us, even our snot is worth a fortune, unlike you, who can't even give it away for free. With that, she turned and walked away. I grabbed several sheets of tissue paper, suppressing my disgust, and wrapped up the pink insect eggs stuck to the table leg before throwing them away. The situation had developed more severely than I had anticipated. I opened the Kuaishou app, and the moment I authorized location access, the local push notifications immediately flooded the homepage with videos from my 3 roommates. Li Sini now calls herself the Golden Apple Snail Goddess, amassing millions of followers with her suggestive campus videos and enviable figure. And she's flooded with advertising offers. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing have worked hard for several years to accumulate only a little over 100,000 followers, and now they are even trying to ride on Li Sini's popularity, leaving various comments under her videos. Looking at the 3 of them, with their nearly stick-like figures, I felt a vague sense of unease in my heart. Logically speaking, extreme weight loss should lead to loose and sagging skin, but in the video, their skin condition not only wasn't loose but even appeared rosy and healthy, apart from occasional continuous bumps on their skin, which kept moving as if something were crawling beneath the surface. The areas where they passed became increasingly pink and flawless. It gave me goosebumps all over. This isn't a healthy rosy complexion at all. It's clearly a golden apple snail laying eggs, because its eggs are pink. Logically, golden apple snails shouldn't have such strong parasitic abilities. Yet everything is undeniably happening right before our eyes. Could it be a new species? Thinking of this, I immediately felt a surge of adrenaline and carefully examined the pink snail eggs that Li Sini had shot out of her nostrils from the trash can. As a biological science major, discovering a new type of mutated species and uncovering the truth behind the mutation would be like having 1 foot already in the door of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Perhaps even the Nobel and Gairdner prizes would beckon to me. I smiled calmly. 3 days later, I arrived as promised. At first glance, I saw Wang Yaru and Yang Jing dressed up in all their finery, striking poses by the poolside. The fabric they were wearing was less than what I had on my pants. Seeing me approach, Wang Yaru said sarcastically, "Oh, what a rare guest. Even the good student has come to our kind of fame and fortune scene. Could it be that you couldn't catch any fish in the library? So you're here to cast your net?" Yang Jing looked me up and down, wearing an expression of understanding. "This is a gathering for influencers. How did you manage to sneak in? Did you win over the security in the wealthy district? Truly unmatched by us, coming from a poverty-stricken county. Your speed in making moves is something we can't compare to. Defamation and spreading rumors can result in 5 to 10 days of administrative detention. Once you have a criminal record, it stays with you for life. I doubt those wealthy tycoons would want criminals like you, would they?" I smirked slyly, pulled out my phone, and pressed 911 to make the call. The 2 of them were indeed thrown into a panic. These brains, even less useful than an appendix, definitely couldn't tell whether what I said was true or false. But as long as I acted convincingly enough, they would surely believe it. Li Sini seized the moment, holding a wine glass as she hurried over to smooth things over. Seeing me dressed in a modest long-sleeved top and pants, she remarked sarcastically, "Oh, let's not ruin the mood. I was the one who invited Yaya here. She's going for a pure and innocent image today, so naturally, she's dressed conservatively. Just hoping someone would be into that." Li Sini smiled insincerely, and as her mouth opened and closed, I saw that the inside of her mouth was already crawling with dense, pink, translucent snail eggs. The black snail larvae inside the eggs noticed my gaze and became excited, waving their 2 slender antennae at me. At first glance, it looked as if her mouth was full of black hair. I felt a physical wave of nausea and ran away in panic. even though I had stripped away subcutaneous fat and fascia, sawed open skulls, and dug out tumors and deformed fetuses. I still feel extremely uncomfortable about this mutated golden apple snail. This creature is beyond my comprehension. It has parasitized to such an extent in just a week, which is truly unprecedented. Long before today, I urgently sent the golden apple snail samples from the library to the laboratory. The study found that the eggs indeed harbored a special strain of parasite. This mutated strain penetrates the human body through the snail's eggs and flesh. Using the host cell's mitochondria as an energy source, it builds a snail-like neural network in the brainstem area, thereby overriding the original nervous system. This biological circuit gradually takes over the host's motor center, causing the human body to exhibit snail-like characteristics, such as secreting mucus, preferring dampness, and avoiding sunlight, to provide an optimal incubation environment for the snail eggs inside. Once all the snail eggs inside the body mature, the host will burst and die. Unlike other parasitic relationships, this infected golden apple snail has strong reproductive capabilities and is extremely difficult to eradicate once it takes root in flesh and blood. In particular, the snail eggs can sense the host's consciousness and move to relatively hidden or frequently touched areas, thereby reducing the risk of being detected by the host. I calmed myself down and observed Licini's every move from a distance. She flitted about among many top influencers, her movements full of suggestive meaning. Before long, several people entered a room. It must be said that after being parasitized by snail eggs, Licini truly underwent a complete transformation. The rapid loss of hemoglobin in her body caused her skin to become unusually pale, yet the pale pink snail eggs covering her entire body created a flawless, healthy appearance of pink and white. If I hadn't lived a second life, I might never have noticed anything unusual. As long as I keep a close eye on Licini, I won't have to worry about publishing plenty of SCI papers in the future. Just as I was lost in thoughts of a bright and promising future, my ears caught the faint sound of sobbing. I looked around warily and found Song Xingxing being dragged into a secluded spot by a mukbang influencer. In her previous life, the golden apple snail goddess was suffering from violence. Having developed PTSD towards everything related to golden apple snails, I initially intended to turn a blind eye, fearing that another ungrateful person might emerge, but in the end, my conscience overcame my reason. I grabbed a wine bottle, quietly approached, aimed at the target, and struck down decisively. After being rescued, Song Xingxing tearfully thanked me, and I couldn't resist my curiosity and asked a question. She explained that her family sells river snails, each as large as a goose egg, with plump and robust snail meat, making them a rare delicacy. However, after her vocational school classmates found out, they gave her a nickname and spread rumors that her family's river snails were mixed with apple snails, not only cutting corners but also exceeding bacterial standards, and had allegedly caused the deaths of hundreds of people. Many people believed it to be true, spreading the misinformation further. Eventually, her family's business plummeted and nearly went bankrupt. She came here today because a client, putting aside past grievances, placed a large order and expressed interest in long-term cooperation. She was very happy and wanted to help share the family's burden, so she personally went to negotiate. However, upon arriving, the client locked her in the room and called to say he had a good product to offer to a certain executive. It was then that she realized she had been treated as a commodity. After realizing what was happening, she escaped through the window, but the noise she made was too loud, drawing their pursuit. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Girls, especially, need to be careful about their safety. Don't go out alone, and learn to protect yourselves with the weapons you're good at. I gave her a hint and waved my hand, signaling her to leave quickly to avoid any further trouble. Song Xingxing bit her lip without answering. Her expression somewhat shattered. My peripheral vision was drawn to the slime reflecting light on the ground, and I couldn't help but furrow my brows. Licini had already finished her battle over here. Her face was flushed, her body adorned with kiss marks, and as she walked in a pink sequined mermaid dress, she swayed with an alluring charm, as if she had taken an aphrodisiac. The white gauze on her chest was soaked with pink slime, and her armpits were filled with pink insect eggs. Many snail hatchlings poked their heads out, densely covering her underarms like blackheads. Because of the telescope, I could see with exceptional clarity. Even the slight turning movements of those black spiral seedlings were clearly visible. It sent chills down my spine. Humans will never truly unravel the mysteries of life. This is a fact I have concluded since studying biological science. Yet even though humans may never fully uncover the secrets of life, This very process drives scientific progress. For example, synthetic biology attempts to build artificial cells from scratch, while quantum biology is exploring the mechanisms of energy transfer and photosynthesis. The ultimate answer to life lies not in solving all mysteries, but in continuously expanding the boundaries of knowledge, so I have no regrets about choosing this field. On the contrary, I will do my part to continuously expand the landscape of life, in an endless cycle of renewal. Wang Yaru and Yang Jing, seeing Li Sini come out, handed over the phone as if seeking credit, rubbing their hands together in a flattering manner. Li Sini flipped through it a few times, nodding with a satisfied expression. The three clinked glasses, letting out villainous laughter, presenting a scene of facing the sea with spring blossoms in full bloom. At that moment, a figure darted out from the side. I took a closer look and, to my surprise, it was Song Xingxing. She held the conch shell and, with lightning speed, aimed the pointed tip at Wang Yaru's heart and stabbed down. You tricked me into coming here to sign a contract, and now you want to sell me. Don't think that just because someone doesn't get angry, you can treat them like a fool. Li Sini and Yang Jing were so frightened by the sudden turn of events that their faces turned pale. And they both fell into the swimming pool. Song Xingxing showed no mercy, moving swiftly and efficiently, stabbing 18 times in a row. Before Wang Yaru could even react, she was stabbed to death. The scene was in chaos, with screams piercing through the crowd, and bodies falling into the pool, blooming into crimson flowers of blood. Countless golden apple snail eggs gushed out from the corpses, swelling rapidly upon contact with water, bloating the bodies into a grotesque, giant-like state. Wang Yaru exploded on the spot. The pink, round eggs pulsed as if alive, and the snail hatchlings excitedly pierced through the transparent egg membranes, transforming into black lightning as they burrowed toward the living creatures in the pool. The air was thick with the stench of rot and sourness, and I vomited on the spot. I never expected Song Xingxing, who looked so petite and delicate, to be so swift and decisive with her hands, actually using a snail shell to stab someone to death. Li Sini and Yang Jing were already scared out of their wits. In their panic, they forgot how to swim and swallowed several mouthfuls of pool water rich with black snail larvae before barely managing to climb ashore. Soon, the police cordoned off the area. The three of us, as roommates and participants in the gathering, were quickly summoned for questioning. Li Sini and Yang Jing didn't return to the dorm last night. I don't know how long they spent outside coordinating their stories. But they both claimed to be suffering from depression and refused to answer any questions. The police, seeing that they couldn't extract any useful information from them, then turned their relentless focus on me. I seized the opportunity to request to see Wang Yaru's body, promising to fully cooperate and reveal everything I had seen and heard. The officer interrogating me was experienced and composed. Upon hearing my request, he stared at me intently for a long while before finally nodding in agreement. Entering the morgue, Wang Yaru transformed into puzzle pieces, lying quietly inside a black plastic bag. The flesh and blood beneath the skin had been hollowed out, leaving only a layer of tissue clinging tightly to the bones. The body's surface secreted a transparent, gelatinous substance, emitting a sour, putrid, snail-like stench that was nauseating. I silently took a tissue sample, intending to bring it back for research. Returning to the dormitory, I came face to face with my two roommates. I was busy perfecting my thesis and data on my own, not even sparing them a glance. Yang Jing was the first to lose her composure. She angrily rushed over, pointed at my nose, and cursed, her slender, beautiful nails jabbing hard at my philtrum, making me wince in pain. Yaru is already dead, and you still shamelessly ran to the police to spread rumors and tarnish her reputation. Are you even human? Do you have any conscience at all? Without any hesitation, I slapped her hand away, my face full of disdain. I took out an alcohol wipe and meticulously cleaned the spot she had touched, as if it were some kind of virus. Little did I know, my actions in her eyes were like water splashing into boiling hot oil, immediately causing her to explode. Yang Jing screamed, sweeping all the notes and materials off my desk in one motion, glaring at me with eyes wide in fury. I caught sight of 6 or 7 wildly writhing Spirometra Mansoni in the depths of her eyes, and the mutated snail larvae poking their heads out of her nostrils, and I quietly took a step back. She brought it upon herself. What does it have to do with me? If she couldn't handle the consequences, she shouldn't have taken it upon herself to pimp for others. She deserved to be stabbed. Li Sini supported Yang Jing, who was on the verge of vomiting blood from anger, and gave me a dissatisfied look. That's going too far. Yeah, we're in the same dorm. After all, what you said is truly heart-wrenching. Yara was just helping someone connect. What could she have done wrong? If anyone is to blame, it should be that snail girl from the neighboring school. She's practically a madwoman, actually killing someone with a snail shell. By the way, ever since the nickname Golden Apple Snail Goddess was registered and popularized by Lee Sin, Song Xingxing's nickname in this lifetime has been changed to Snail Girl. I climbed into bed and said lightly, "Then do you use golden apple snails for beauty? Isn't that even more insane?" Lee Sin seemed to have been stepped on the tail, quickly bristling. Golden apple snails not only bring both fortune and longevity, symbolizing happiness, but their meat is also rich in protein and vitamins, packed with minerals. They are an economical species with high protein and low fat. Okay, you. A biology student, no less than me, an art student, you can't even squeeze out a word with 3 sticks, pretending to study for graduate school all day long. Little do you know, fate is determined by heaven. No matter how much you struggle, it's useless. You only deserve to be trampled under our feet. Yang Jing sneered. Sin, don't pay attention to her. Zhou Yu is just jealous that we didn't make her beautiful. Compared to us, she looks even uglier, so she deliberately targets us. After all, when a beam of light shines into the darkness, that beam of light becomes guilty. People really do laugh when they're speechless. I rolled my eyes and pulled the door shut tightly, afraid that if I waited even a second longer, I'd reveal a standard 8-tooth smile. To delve deeper into the mutant strain, I worked day and night, throwing myself into the lab and fighting alone. However, developing targeted drugs for the mutant strain requires integrating multiomics data, structural biology, and clinical translational research, as well as establishing a dynamic monitoring system to address rapidly evolving drug resistance. Fortunately, I had previously won $1 million, plus the $30,000 I had saved up privately, which could barely cover these massive cash flows. Otherwise, would have truly ended up homeless, after more than 10 days and nights of hard work. I finally achieved a technical breakthrough and developed a dual-target inhibitor that can simultaneously target cell wall synthase and metabolic enzymes. Combined with targeted ligands for precise delivery, it breaks through the biofilm barrier of mutant strains, achieving 100% complete eradication, without a moment's delay. I gave myself an injection, submitted to journals, and uploaded the research findings. Then, I picked up a section of pink snail eggs and placed them in my palm. The black snail larvae inside let out a painful scream, quickly shriveling up and leaving behind withered, dull dead skin. Success. I, Zhou Yu, am about to make history. Looking at the mere few thousand yuan left in my pocket, I resolutely headed to the cafeteria and treated myself to a deluxe version of mouth-watering chicken. No one disturbed me, and I ate with great delight. I opened slow hand, and because of my follow history, the platform automatically pushed Lee Sin's account to me. Her ID had changed from Golden Apple Snail Goddess to Golden Apple Snail Wife. I took a closer look, and the man in the pinned announcement video was none other than Zhou Ao, the Crown Prince of the Beijing Circle. What the hell? How did these two end up together? Could it be that the Crown Prince has a thing for snails? Otherwise, why would he be so fixated on golden apple snails in both lifetimes? I immediately clicked on the trending topics from a few days ago and, sure enough, saw many eye-catching headlines. Million-follower blogger caught in sex photo scandal at party. Golden Apple Snail Goddess, molested by creepy hands. Goddess falls into depression and jumps off building. Fighting for life in ICU. Workplace women's safety against male gaze. Dawn approaches. Gu Group files lawsuit against molester Zhao. Vows to fight for full justice for the victim. Beijing's social circle prince rescues distressed princess. Mutual affection blossoms. True love prevails. Double blessings arrive. It seems Lee Sin also found out that the crown prince is obsessed with redemption literature. I knew she had another purpose for attending the party, but I never expected she would go this far just to get his attention. If she saw the shock on my face, she would surely sneer. The bigger the waves, the more expensive the fish. Zhou Yu, you're so timid, you'll never get ahead in life. I'm curious to see if the crown prince, infected and on the brink of death, would still have the heart to indulge in his redemption literature. After that, Lee Sin and the crown prince made frequent public appearances at various business galas, and their popularity remained high for a long time. Her social media feed was updated 24/7, showcasing all kinds of gourmet food, selfies, and group photos, more frequently than a micro-business account, visiting 24 countries in 7 days. She has truly become a socialite. The dorm group chat was also flooded with her posts. Yang Jing kept showering her with flattery and occasionally took a few jabs at me, but I couldn't be bothered to respond. However, as time went on, she stopped posting selfies. The occasional couple photos that appeared showed her looking much thinner and quite haggard. With dark circles under her eyes that even heavy editing couldn't hide, I took screenshots and arranged them in chronological order, only to find the young master's smile gradually fading away. Yang Jing received luxury goods sent by Li Sini, and by splurging money, she became the new golden apple snail goddess, dating different people every day. This made a group of mindless students envious, scrambling to buy golden apple snails. They all wanted to achieve a personal body reversal through this. I see from the campus hospital's admission records that 30 students have been hospitalized this week due to parasitic infections, with the cumulative number of patients reaching over 120. Additionally, the campus has public bathrooms and showers. The infection and spread are spreading like a plague, with no one able to escape or avoid it. Except for me, this terrifying number continues to rise. Even the post I made on the confession wall to remind everyone to take personal precautions was pushed down by messages about expanding social circles and looking for people, and after Yang Jing turned the dormitory into a breeding ground for golden apple snails, I decisively made my exit. I don't want to recall the feeling of waking up early in the morning to find the surrounding beds covered with over a dozen golden apple snails the size of fists, still secreting mucus and laying eggs. My thesis and research findings caught the attention of a senior academician, who extended an olive branch to me with a generous offer, but I did not agree. I am waiting for an invitation from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. Although my research findings conceal core data and confidential information, the process is not complicated. It can be fully replicated by grasping a few key steps. But the prerequisite is that you must know the source of this infection is the golden apple snail. Otherwise, just identifying the source of infection and the transmission route would take a considerable amount of time. I continued to improve the experiment in my rented room. It was already a month later when I received another message from Li Sini. I heard that at a dance party, she was wearing a bikini and dancing a tango with Zhou Ao, but she accidentally fell during the hot dance, and her whole body landed on the young master by inertia. The bomb on the chest exploded under pressure, sending countless foul-smelling pus and wriggling pink snail eggs flying in all directions. While the black snail larvae seized the opportunity to rush toward the crowd, the group of rich second-generation heirs were too intoxicated and disoriented, mistaking the gushing pus for some new beverage, and they eagerly licked their fingers and smacked their lips to taste it. The bolder ones picked up the wriggling, screaming black snail larvae with their hands and popped them into their mouths, making sounds of appreciation. Some even mistook the clump of white Angiostrongylus cantonensis that Li Sini vomited for noodles and ate it with great relish. The young master Zhou Ao drank countless mouthfuls of pus and immediately fainted. Just as Yang Jing was wreaking havoc in the academic circle, Li Sini single-handedly wiped out the entire elite circle of the capital, truly worthy of being good friends. When I received the news and rushed to the hospital, she was wearing a ventilator. Her body was withered like a mummy, the 2 mines on her chest had been removed, and her former charm was gone. Li Sini saw that I was intact and glared at me hatefully. Yeah, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Why didn't you stop me? Why did you let me use this harmful folk remedy? You watched me fall into the abyss. I tried to stop you, but you know the final outcome better than I do. I looked at her coldly, clenching my fists. You were foolish yourself. Anyone with common sense would know it was impossible, yet you insisted on risking your own life and used the excuse of seeking advice to shift the blame onto others. You brought this upon yourself entirely. Li Sini was gasping for breath, her chest heaving violently. Suddenly, she spat pink insect eggs at me, determined to perish together with me. However, due to the vaccine I had received, my body emitted a lethal aura. Those pink snail eggs, with their keen sense of smell, seemed to possess a life of their own as they automatically avoided me and clung to the wall instead. Li Sini widened her eyes in disbelief, then her head rapidly swelled up like a balloon and burst, splattering me with blood. Something wriggled inside her belly, tearing her skin open from the inside out, and 2 black tentacles emerged. Next, a snail-like creature the size of a basketball crawled out. Its body was covered in intricate black and white patterns, its 2 tentacles fixed motionlessly on me, its mouth filled with many sharp serrated teeth, with pink shreds of flesh and white fat still stuck between them, like a giant slug without a shell. This must be the mother strain of those fungi, the root of all the disaster. I steadied myself, calmly turned around to lock the door, and dialed 911. My movements flowing smoothly and seamlessly. After doing everything, I finally collapsed to the floor as if all my strength had drained away. The police quickly arrived, took me away, and then sealed off the hospital. They took the mother plant for further research. A severe infectious incident occurred in the capital city, causing a sensation throughout society. Nearly 10,000 people were infected through association, though half of them had only brief contact. So the severity of the infection was not high. As the person who filed the report, I was invited over for a chat. They investigated my identity, traced the clues to my academic achievements, and identified the source of the infection. The state extended an olive branch, inviting me to participate in the subsequent research and development, promising to provide me with high-quality resources and a spot in the core team. After weighing the options, I did not refuse. After joining the National Academy of Sciences, with the support of a strong institution, I gained access to more platforms and broadened my horizons significantly. Once the latest vaccine was developed, many people came to get vaccinated, whether for infection prevention or treatment. Thanks to the initial authorized patent, I made a fortune, bought a villa for my parents, and purchased luxury cars. I no longer have to worry about basic necessities like food, clothing, housing, and transportation. There are many injustices in the world, and it is extremely difficult to change one's fate. I am well aware of the hardships involved. If it weren't for this mutated strain, I might have quietly pursued graduate studies and lived an ordinary life. But since I now know this information in advance, given a second chance at life, I firmly seize this opportunity, prepare the necessary measures ahead of time, and ride this wave to soar to a distant horizon. There is no shortcut to success. But there are methods. Break the information gap, and your future and destiny are in your hands. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.